Hey guys, this is day 4 of quarantine. It is June 1st, and we're looking at another nice morning. It's 10 o'clock right now, and something of immediate concern to us is our waste disposal. We now have 3 bags of trash. One is right here, and the other 2, we were afraid that it was going to start to stink, so we put it outside. So this morning, my mom called the hotline that they gave us in case we need anything during our quarantine. And then they were like, oh, so what's the problem? And then we're like, yeah, we have too much trash. Could you come here and pick it up? And so we were promptly transferred to a official from the Environmental Protection Agency. And then they were like, oh, okay, so the quickest we can come pick it up for you, right, is Wednesday, June 3rd, which is 2 days from now. Another thing to note was that this transfer actually happened really quickly. We waited 30 seconds. I was expecting to wait 10 minutes tops. So that was a pleasant surprise. And so we didn't understand the protocol of how this works. So my mom asked when do we put out the trash? When you come in to collect the trash during the day, right? Do we just put out the trash the day before? Do we put it out morning day of, right? And then they were like, okay, so how it works is we will tell you when we'll pick it up the day before. So that would be June 2nd, Tuesday, which is tomorrow. And so we're like, okay, cool. But I think the most surprising part was that you can actually request multiple trash pickups in advance, right? So as a final question, my mom asked oh, is this the only time, you're gonna come pick up our trash? How many times are we allowed to, request this service? Because we want to have an idea of how much trash we're comfortable with producing. We don't want to buy a bunch of takeout and then figure out that we're gonna have to all pile them outside, on the balcony or something, because it's gonna start to stink, right? And I half expected them to just tell me okay, we're gonna pick it up once or twice tops. Don't ask so much of us, because I expect they have a lot of people that they need to provide the service to that are in quarantine. I mean. But then I remembered that the district official told me a couple days ago that they would come pick up your trash once every 2 days. And the reality is, it's about once every 2 to 3 days that they're able to come pick up your trash. So we actually scheduled 4 trash pickups, so June 3rd, and then the 6th, and then the 9th, and then the 11th. All in all, I think the Environmental Protection Agency is doing really well in providing the service. They're really spot on with their service. There are some limitations to what you can throw away though. So foodstuffs, normal trash is allowed. However, you can't throw away large cardboard items, for example, right? And glass is also not allowed. As I said before, all of these waste products from quarantine households are treated as biohazard. So we don't need to do any sorting in terms of recyclables, garbage, and compost, right? However, it does make sense in that case that there are some things that they shouldn't allow you to throw away. Of course, all this is largely my personal experience. I feel, based on where you're living exactly in Taiwan, there's at least some level of discrepancy between, what your experience will be with the quarantine efforts and services that your particular county or city will provide you. We just called up my dad and my brother who are living in Taipei City as opposed to New Taipei City, and we talked about, trash collection. And what they told us was that their hotline for this service is different than ours. Theirs is toll-free, ours is not toll-free. That sort of detail, may not be that big a deal, but what I'm saying is there might be other differences that are more significant as well, how frequently they come pick up your trash, for example, might also, be dependent on where exactly you're living in Taiwan. My mom went to look at the trash bag on our balcony again, and it turns out, that it's already starting to attract a bunch of little bugs. So my mom thought this was disgusting, and so naturally what she did was just to douse the whole bag with alcohol. I think that another thing worth mentioning about, the regulations regarding quarantine for people coming into Taiwan is that they're really frequently updated, actually. Probably on the monthly basis they're being updated. Which is in a sense kind of annoying, right? Because it's hard to find the most updated information. So for example, before we came to Taiwan, we consulted a lot of friends and family. A lot of people also willingly just provided, information about, what they thought was, current quarantine regulations here in Taiwan. It turns out that a lot of these pieces of information were already outdated, which is in no way anybody's fault, really, but, like, just saying, like, there are a lot of things that would have been nice to know in advance. I think, like, the most readily recallable issue for us in terms of this would be the regulation that each person in quarantine needs to have their own room and restroom. This is what, like, ultimately, forced us, my family, to live in two different locations instead of just our apartment in Neihu District. Until 2 days before we moved back to Taiwan, we had no idea that this regulation was in place at all. Like, nobody had told us about it. Turns out that it was only put in place on May 4th, which is earlier the month, that we moved here. Like, our family still very much wants to, live in the same place during quarantine, though. So my dad actually called the quarantine hotline a couple of days ago and asked them, like, is there any chance that, like, we can live together even though we have, like, 2 less restrooms in our apartment than is technically allowed, right? Is such a law really enforced, right? And then, in short, what they said was, like, yeah, it is. We take this quite seriously, so chances are, I'll ask for you, right? But the chances are, like, it's not going to work out. If it does, though, right, we'll have policemen escort my mom and I over to my dad and my brother's location in Neihu District. And I gather that the reason behind that is because, they don't want to potentially expose anybody else to the virus. Like, for example, if we rely on public transportation to get to, my dad and my brother's apartment in Neihu District, I can't help but feel that this is just, like, a really subtle way, of them saying, like, just don't push your luck and, stay put and, like, don't try to push the regulations, something like that. Here's something that my mom figured out, because it's been kind of hot a couple days, that we were here. And so it turns out if you open the window like this, owing to the fact probably that, we're so high up, we're on 23rd floor, you can actually get a pretty good draft of wind. Okay, I'm going to hold this piece of paper up so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's actually really comfortable here. It doesn't work in any other part of the house though, so you kind of have to stand, like, right here, at this particular spot. So yesterday I said I was looking forward to Bible study today. That actually couldn't happen because of a scheduling conflict. So we usually have Bible study a little bit earlier in the afternoon, maybe like 4 or 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We moved it back to like 8 to 9. And part of the reason is just because, like, they didn't want me to have to wake up that early in the morning, so I could do it at a more comfortable time for me. Which is the reason why I feel a little bit bad about the fact, because we forgot that our church congregational meeting happened around that time. And so, we missed the window to do it earlier, and later we couldn't do it either because a lot of people had to attend that. My friends were really nice about it, though. Like, they were just basically like, oh, yeah, we forgot to, like, don't worry about it. Like, we'll just do it next week. And we actually got to hang out a little bit, like, after the meeting was over. Like, we didn't have a Bible study, but, like, at least we, like, hung out and chat a little bit. At least some of us did. Like most online meetings and gatherings, right, we did it through Zoom. My friends took this opportunity to kind of make fun of me by, like, changing their Zoom backgrounds to, like, ostriches because, well, they haven't seen me in a while, I guess. And apparently, according to popular opinion in my church, like, youth group, I kind of look like an ostrich. I honestly wholeheartedly don't agree with that statement, though. Even though there were only, like, 5 of us, right, it was nice to get to catch up with them and just, see how they're doing and, tell them a little bit about how the quarantine is going as well. Just a little bit of an update of the waste disposal issues that my dad and my brother are facing on their side in their apartment in Neihu District. So in the previous episodes of my vlog, I talked a little bit about the issues that my dad and my brother ran into in terms of ordering takeout. So for their apartment, they cannot order takeout because the security officer was not willing to have the delivery guy bring the food up, and they also can't go down to retrieve the food because they're in quarantine, so they cannot order any. So it turns out that this policy, right, it's not really the security guard's call to begin with. It actually is the call of the kind of management board of the community of the apartment that my dad and my brother are residing in. So the board, right, the community members, right, they know that my dad and my brother are being quarantined, in their apartment room. They know we just came back from outside of Taiwan. And so, they are not willing to allow the delivery people to come up, and deliver food for us. For similar reasons, concern for safety, they aren't even willing to allow my dad and my brother to dispose of the trash they've been producing in their apartment, by allowing the environmental protection agencies like officials to come up and dispose of the trash for them. They aren't even willing to allow that. Again, my dad called the district office saying like, okay, so the community board, right, is not willing to comply, with delivery, right, with waste disposal. Like, is there something you can do? Can you step in? And basically what they told my dad was that, our hands are tied, if your community board decides this for your apartment, then there's nothing really we can do, right? You can ask a friend, right, or family member to dispose of your trash for you. And then my dad was like, well, like, aren't these, pieces of trash, like, treated separately? Aren't they treated as biohazard? If you allow, like, family members or, like, friends to come up and, how are they supposed to dispose of it? And then the management just said, like, oh, like, as long as we don't see it, right, we don't care how you dispose of it, but we're just not going to allow, right, the Environmental Protection Agency to come up and, like, throw away your trash for you. Now I think about it, right, that request is sort of ridiculous, in my opinion, because, like, okay, obviously, like, nobody wants anybody to catch the virus, right? We want everybody to be safe. But, like, what's safer? Allowing the Environmental Protection Agency's officials to come up, and properly dispose of the waste that my brother and my dad have been producing, these days in quarantine, as, biohazard through, like, proper treatment plants and whatnot, right? Or allowing friends and family to come up, like, who don't know how to dispose of trash properly, right? And they could dump it anywhere for all you know. Not saying they're gonna do that, but they could, right? And there would be no way to properly track, like, where that waste is going. Now, I just want to make clear, right? Like, I'm not trying to point fingers. I'm not trying to lay blame. I'm not trying to, paint my dad and my brother as victims, of the quarantine, like, policies in any way. I'm just trying to tell it as it is, really, right? Like, I'm trying to say is, right, just because, we're all being quarantined in Taiwan, right? Even, like, a short distance, right, between, like, Taipei City and New Taipei City, where we are right now, it's only, like, an hour's, like, drive, right? The policies in place, right, depending on what community you're in, what apartment you're living in, how many people are living in your apartment, right? The policies can be very different, and therefore, like, your experiences in quarantine can also be really different, and you might run into, like, a lot of difficulties and problems, right, that you would not have expected before. And just thinking that, when we first got here and I realized that, we don't have a TV and, we don't have the Amazon Fire Stick. Obviously, only one of us could have it. My dad and my brother have it on their side. I was actually a little bit bummed out because, like, I couldn't be watching, like, TV shows, for example, for, like, the next, like, 2 weeks. But, like, now I think of it, right, given the fact that my dad and my brother cannot order takeout like we can, and they also cannot dispose of their waste, right, as easily as we can, I would say that, my mom and I probably have it a little bit better in a sense. And I suppose, right, that's kind of what quarantine is about, right? You try to make the most out of, like a somewhat limiting environment. And I really do hope that my dad and my brother work it out, somehow, and, and we'll all just make the best of things, like, whatever circumstance we're in. So in the spirit of doing productive things, right, I went online and I searched up free courses for game design, specifically dealing with Unity and C#, because that's what I was playing with. I was playing with Unity during shelter in place in the United States, so I thought, why not take it a step further and take a course on it, just to, solidify my understanding and get the fundamentals down. I found this course on Coursera, so I think I'm going to check it out. If not, I might go about trying to find another one. Again, this is just me documenting my life. I'm not paid by Coursera. There's not a paid commercial or anything like that. Like, if they paid me, I'd really be flattered because I have, like, 30 subscribers on my YouTube, so the message is not going to get really far. As a side note, I did take 3 separate online courses during my time shelter in place in the United States. They mostly dealt with business, finance, and economics and that kind of stuff. Not all of them were from Coursera. And so this will actually be my first online course for computer programming. So it turns out, right, that even though our family friends had stockpiled our house with groceries for us before we came here, right, some food items run out much faster than other ones. So, in terms of drinks, right, still got a lot, like you say, like coconut water. You know, we still have like a good amount of tea, you know, and stuff like that. But like in terms of fruits, especially, we got like what, one apple left. All the guava's gone, and we got one apple. Like that's literally it. And so like we're gonna have to buy groceries pretty soon. So we're looking for options. And so my mom asked me like, you know, is there any service they provide? You know, maybe they deliver your groceries for you. And I thought to myself like there must be some service like that we can find. And the solution to our grocery problem, right, is even more straightforward than we thought it would be, because you could literally just order groceries through Foodpanda, which is what we use for our like takeout. So if we click on like the delivery tab, where we get our like restaurants and like drink shops, which is what we've been using. But turns out there's another tab just called shops. And like if you click it, like right off the bat, you see like right here there's Carrefour. It's free delivery. It's a supermarket, right? So that's exactly what we needed. Quite surprisingly, you could also order delivery from like multiple convenience stores like Family Mart, OK Mart, High Life. Knowing that we still had access to grocery shopping within quarantine, and also it was free delivery, we weren't in a hurry to like buy up a ton of stuff. We sort of just bought like what we needed for the time being, which largely consists of like fruits and drinks. They deliver your groceries quite promptly as well. So we ordered at about 8 p.m. and you know, our delivery is scheduled for tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. All right, I guess that's it for day 4. We got 10 more days to go, and I'll see you tomorrow.